A Disney World pro gets advice for his first ever trip to Universal Orlando. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 69. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today is a very special episode of the Go Inform podcast because I have a distinguished guest with me on today's show, and we are going to talk all about Universal Orlando, how it compares to Disney World, and the things that you need to know before you go for your first time. My name's Maven. I'm the hostess here on the show, and I'm so happy to have you with me today. This is episode 69 of the podcast. Thanks, you guys, for listening. Thanks for being part of this community. I hope that you are planning a big trip or just getting yourself excited to start thinking about it. And as I said, this is a really cool episode. I have a guest on this show who is a true Disney World pro. His name is Rick. He is actually a host of a Disney fan podcast called Monorail Tales. And Rick has been to Disney World many, many times in his life. You'll hear him kind of tell his story. And he has never been to Universal Orlando. And I got to be a guest on Rick's show a few weeks ago. And when we were talking, he mentioned that he's got this trip coming up. He is finally going to Universal Orlando. He's really excited about it, but he had a whole bunch of questions. He wanted to talk about his trip. So I invited him to come on and talk to me about what he needs to know, what he's got planned, what he's excited about, what he's worried about. All the things that all of us think about when we're planning, especially our first trip somewhere. So this is a conversation that we had together. It's kind of long because we really kind of cover everything related to his trip. But I think it's super valuable, especially if you've never been to Universal before and maybe you've been to Disney and you're trying to figure out, what's the same, what's different, what you need to know. That's all the kind of stuff that we cover today. You will hear us talking a little bit about Disney World because that's the language that Rick speaks. So if you are at all familiar with some of the attractions there, some of the systems there, or maybe you've heard me talking about them, you're going to hear us kind of referencing that stuff. We start out our conversation talking about how long he's been planning this trip and also why Disney is so meaningful for his family and what is going to make this trip really special too. So besides just lots of tips and advice, you're going to learn a little bit more about another theme park fan and definitely a big time Harry Potter fan too. So show notes for this episode will be on the website at goinform.net/69. And you'll be, I think, happy to know that we're going to do a second episode after Rick gets back from his trip so he can let us know how it went and give his tips and advice and tell us what made his trip special. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, because that is how you will get those new episodes delivered directly to your podcast app. Okay, so let's jump in. Here is my conversation with Rick. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's talk about your trip. I'm so excited. Are you excited to be going to Universal?
We are very, very excited. We originally had it booked for Black Friday until I think the Tuesday after Thanksgiving last year. But my daughter was diagnosed with COVID the Saturday before we're supposed to leave.
Oh, no.
And it was really mild. The only thing that happened was she lost her sense of smell. But that's how she knew, that she had it. We went and got her tested. We were all tested. and nobody got it but her.
Oh, wow. That is so lucky.
So we canceled our trip, moved it to August, and thank goodness they had a very lenient cancellation policy still in place.
Totally. Yeah. So this is a trip you've been waiting for a while then.
Yeah. I think it's been over a year and a half in the planning.
That's awesome. I mean, I wish you could have gone sooner, but that's pretty amazing that you finally get to go.
Yeah. Well, we pushed it out, as far as we could in August, because our daughter's in college and she'll start, she has to move to college 2 weeks after we get back. But that's when we rescheduled it in November is, the height of COVID. So we didn't know what things were going to be like. So we wanted to push it back as far as we could.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have made that decision, and hopefully it's paid off. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have to rebook it again,
Yeah. But we ended up getting the really good ticket deal that they had with the free days.
Yeah. Which ticket deal do you guys have?
I think it's buy 3, get 2.
Yeah.
So we have 5 days. And we originally had 4 days of park scheduled. So now we got 5.
So where are you guys staying? Are you staying at Universal the whole time?
Yes, we are staying at Universal. And we are staying in a Premier Resort.
Okay.
So when I was pricing it out, because we have a party of 5, it was, I think, about $2,000 more if we would have stayed at Cabana Bay.
Wow! With buying the Express Pass,
yeah,
you saved $2,000 by staying in the nicer hotel.
And since we've never been before, the Express Pass really appeals to us.
Yeah,
because we want to get as much done as we can.
Totally. Which hotel did you pick?
Royal Pacific.
Oh yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I really wanted to try, I think, Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah, the Hard Rock Hotel. Yeah.
Is that the one that has the Jurassic Park suites?
No, that is the Portofino Bay, I think, that has the Jurassic Park suites. Yeah. I think the suites at the Hard Rock are future rock star suites.
They didn't have any suites available, so we just kept what we had.
Yeah.
At Royal Pacific. And, I don't think we're making a bad decision. I think all 3 hotels look really nice.
They are all, I have stayed in every one of them before. They are all super nice. I mean, they're luxury hotels, and you get the free Express Pass. Plus you can walk to the park like easily. So, it's a lot. I mean, we should probably go back a little bit just since we're recording this for an audience.
Sure.
Rick, why don't you tell a little bit about your history with travel to Orlando and why this trip is kind of special?
Okay. Well, I've been going to Orlando since I was like 3 or 4. My grandparents had a motorhome and would go down for, the winter. Right after Christmas, they would leave and come back in May. So we would go down spring break a lot. And they took us to Disney World a couple times. Whenever we go down, we go for 1 or 2 days. And, we go to all the other attractions in Orlando, or Kissimmee, like Old Town and Clearwater, to do the glass bottom boats, and all over Florida. So, and then I went in 89 when I was 12, and then I didn't go back until 2010.
Oh, wow.
Because after I graduated high school and was going to college, my my mom and stepdad went, took my youngest sister, but they didn't take us. My other sister and I, because we were both in college, and so I got left behind. And then we went in 2010 with 3 kids. We have 4 kids now. And that was kind of like our once of a lifetime trip. That's the way we looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really start thinking about anything, until 6 years later. And, technology changed so much from 2010 to 2015, 2016 with social media and, researching trips. Mm-hmm. So I had a job where I drove a lot, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts, but at the time it was like cooking podcasts. And then I found that there were Disney podcasts. I started listening to them, because my wife was like, well, maybe we should try taking another Disney trip. I think we can do it. So we priced it out and it looked reasonable. So we went, the 4 of us, for spring break in 2017. And, I was doing the research, listening to podcasts, going to Facebook groups. And when we were there, we had a really magical moment with our youngest son. He had a condition called selective mutism. And that's where he wouldn't talk at school. He would talk when we were at home. He talked to family, at their houses. He would talk when we went to church, but he would not talk at school. And that actually went on for 3.5 years. He didn't utter one word from the time he was in preschool until he was in 2nd grade. And the teachers were like, he's so smart, he got good grades. He could do answer, I don't know how he did it. And they said that all the kids that he was friends with understood what he wanted without him telling them. And we're like, wow, that's really impressive. And they're like, yeah, but it's not really good because it doesn't give him any incentive to talk. And we were at Magic Kingdom. I was getting some snacks, I think, and my wife and our kids were at, there's like a little roll cart near Pinocchio's village house. And the cast member was selling swords and shields and stuff like that. And he gave my son a sword and had a shield and had a sword fight with him right there in the middle of the walkway. And my wife got it on video and sent it to me. And it was just such a breakthrough moment for him. Because he wasn't talking at Disney World. It's an anxiety issue, is what we were told. And, we kind of credit that for him starting to get out of his shell.
Wow.
And, it was just like at that moment, it was like, wow, I really get it. What the magic is that people talk about. So, once of a lifetime trip became let's go as often as we can. So we've been 2 or 3 times a year since then. And as far as Universal, my wife has expressed interest in it, and my older daughter has expressed interest in it. And I'm a super Harry Potter fan.
Okay.
To the point where when the movie came out in 2001, my interest was piqued because I saw an interview with them on the Today Show, the trio. So I got the books and I read them, and I just continued reading them for years. Well, I did read other books, but I read really quickly. So from 2001 until the last book came out, I would just continue to read them. So I've read the first 6 books at least 50 times a piece.
That's amazing.
And, yeah, the 7th book I've only read 3 or 4 times. Just because, it's like when it was over, it's like, wow, where do I go from here?
Totally.
And, I've listened to all the audiobooks 3 or 4 times. I have them, where I drive for work. So, we've gone to midnight showings. We've driven 3 hours to see one in IMAX, just so we could see them, have an experience. And I was afraid that my family not being as big a fan as I would kind of bring my experience down. So I've held off on it. My dream was to take my 2 sisters with me, do a trip with just them and just see the Harry Potter stuff. And, because they were the ones that went to the movies with me. And, it is with our lives, we're all adults. We don't live in the same places. So, we just couldn't wait any longer. So we booked the trip with my family. They understand how I feel about it. And, they'll be there to pick me up, I think, when I see it all.
Yeah, it's gonna be an incredible experience for you when you get in there, when you get into especially Diagon Alley. Oh my goodness.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that you are like gonna post pictures on Instagram or somewhere so we can live through your experience.
Yeah, I plan to. I'm so excited because it's been so hard to not spoil myself, about watching YouTube videos or, I've avoided as much as I can other than just general tips, like your 33 tips for a Universal trip.
Right. Yeah, I try not to spoil it too much too. In my even if you listen to like my audio tours, because I think there's just something about seeing it for yourself for the first time, and
yeah,
and luckily it's so cool that it really it will exceed your expectation, which is really hard to imagine, especially because you guys have 5 park days on your tickets. I mean, you can really take your time. You can split up with your family and you could just spend 2 hours just wandering around in one little corner of the Wizarding World and really take it in. I mean, it is going to be such an immersive experience, I think, for you.
That's what I'm really hoping, because, like I said, I've read tips and things like that. And, I think most people say you can do most of what you want to do in like 2 days, maybe 3. So I'm hoping that we can slow down a little bit, because our first, 2 or 3 Disney trips were breakneck speed and go, go, go. I mean, since then we've learned to slow down and enjoy, the details.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to avoid that mistake with Universal of going so fast that we don't see everything and, just focusing on getting the rides done or, our meals or something like that.
Yeah.
I really do want to, just immerse myself in Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Plus, there are some other pretty cool things to see. So,
yeah, I've heard that too.
Are you guys going to go to Volcano Bay, the water park?
When we were originally going, our trip was in November. So we didn't have anything planned for Volcano Bay at all. And when we rescheduled, we just rescheduled with the two park tickets.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to make sure that I got to ride the Hogwarts Express.
Yeah, you have to have that.
So we were actually talking a couple of days ago, or actually a week ago or so, that maybe we would like to try Volcano Bay. So I checked with my travel agent, because I use a travel agent to do my booking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, she made the calls, and we can't change our tickets because of the promo.
Mm-hmm.
If we made a change, then we'd have to pay a lot more money.
Right.
To add Volcano Bay. And I priced out doing a 1-day ticket to Volcano Bay for the 5 of us. It's $460.
Okay.
But we're also there from August 1st through the 5th. So we're there for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought about that was, if we did Volcano Bay, we'd be taken away from some of our other park time. And we are going to Disney for 2 days afterwards.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We're actually going 1 day before at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We're meeting some of our friends there that are from here, where we live. And we're meeting them there for 1 day so we can hang out with them. And then we're staying at Boardwalk for 2 days afterwards. I thought that would just be a nice little break. Give us some time to rest and relax. And, we don't have park tickets for those days at Disney. But
Okay.
I did look at Blizzard Beach.
Oh, there you go. You could do your water park while you're there. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and it's actually about $80 cheaper to do Blizzard Beach.
Okay.
So I think that's what we're going to do. We haven't committed to anything yet. I just didn't see a way to fit it in and give it the type of attention that I've heard it deserves as well. It's a experience unto itself, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's basically its own theme park. I have not been there, which is part of the reason I don't talk about it very much on my show or on my website. But there's a lot of touring advice out there for Volcano Bay because it is so popular. It's one of those, just like the other parks, you want to get there early. You got to have a real strategy. And it might be more relaxing for you if you just went over to Blizzard Beach when you got those free days kind of already at Disney. That's really cool. So you guys are going to be gone for more than a week then on this trip.
It'll be Saturday to Saturday, really.
Okay.
I think we're going to leave Friday night and either stop maybe Savannah. I don't know if we can push it to Jacksonville. We've tried that before.
Yeah,
it's a hike.
You guys are close enough that you can drive, which is really cool, which I'm jealous of.
Well, I mean, we're closer than you, but it's still a 12-hour drive.
Okay.
With no traffic, going straight through everything.
Okay.
With the kids and all that, it's about 14 hours.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we just bookended it to meet our friends and then just give us a couple of days to rest before we drove back. And that way we could spend our whole 5th day at Universal if we wanted to.
Right.
Rather than, leaving first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Gives you some options there.
That's a bad thing about driving for us, is because we do have to leave early in the morning. So that day is mostly all travel.
Right. Okay.
Whereas if we fly, we can usually have some time in the morning to do a couple things.
Right. Yeah. Because it's probably pretty quick flight, right?
Yeah. It's just under 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be you, your wife, and 3 of your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And how old are your kids?
Well, our oldest is 22. He doesn't live at home. He has his own place and a job. So it's a special occasion when he goes on vacation with us.
Mm-hmm.
Our oldest daughter is 19.
Uh-huh.
And she'll be a sophomore in college. Our youngest daughter is 11. That was one thing that really gutted me with our trip being canceled in November, because we would have been there for both of the girls' birthdays.
Oh, man.
And she would have turned 11 while we were there. And our travel agent sent us a letter, a Hogwarts letter.
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
we were going to give her while we were there. Of course, that didn't happen. So she's 11. She'll be going in 6th grade, and then our youngest son is 9.
Okay. Well, you guys will just have to celebrate everybody's birthday. I mean, that's what I think.
Mine is the next month, so I might just. Mine and my sons are both in September, so we might just do that.
Yeah, I think you have to do that. I think every day you're there for 5 days. You have 5 people. Every day should be somebody's birthday.
That is a good idea.
Okay, so you guys, you're staying at the Royal Pacific. So you're close by. You've got Express Pass. That's super awesome. Do you have some idea of what your plan's going to be day to day? Have you kind of mapped out for the whole 5 days where you plan to be? Are you that kind of planner, or where are you approaching?
I am that type of planner. But where we moved in April, our life's just been so crazy. I can't really wrap my head around planning right now.
Okay.
Because so many different things come up. Like we're going to the beach Monday. Mm-hmm. And then Friday, my youngest son and I are flying to Disney World from the beach.
You're going to Disney
days.
World for 3 days for another trip a few weeks before you go on this trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just my son and I, and it's like a friend meetup, from a Facebook group I'm in.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I can barely wrap my head around planning that trip. Mm-hmm. We have one meal planned and we have our parks reserved. But other than that, it's all up in the air. I'm just kind of going to let my son, navigate what he wants to do. As far as Universal, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the parks have early entry. Mm-hmm. Since we're on site. So is it worthwhile to take advantage of that, or is that something we should avoid because of the crowds?
That's a really good question. That's an interesting Disney kind of question to ask too, because you do hear that a lot at Disney World, where the advice will be to avoid the park that has early admission because it'll become more crowded. At Universal, there's the 2 theme parks. We're just going to leave Volcano Bay out of that equation. With only having 2 parks, even if one of them has early admission, it's not going to make it that much more crowded than the one that doesn't. And the main thing is that in the summertime, these parks are going to get busy. And if you can get in there early, you're just going to really, really save yourself a lot of, being in the crowd, spin all of that. So yes, if you can do it, you've got 5 mornings. So maybe you don't have to do it every day, but I would definitely make it a priority to try to go early. Plus it's August, it's going to get really hot.
Yeah. Right. They only publish their hours a month ahead of time. I'm sure that there's other places that kind of figure out what the hours are, but their official website only has hours up through August 1st right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's so typical of them. They'll dump it out in chunks like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're going to give you tomorrow through August 2nd, or they might give you all of August starting then. You never quite know with them. But one thing that will happen is if you're there, if it turns out that your week is a busy week, they could have early admission at both parks on the same day. This does happen when it's busy. So keep an eye on that schedule. The other thing I would tell you is the early admission schedule sometimes changes. Okay. So that's happened to me before, where I thought I actually went to the wrong park one time because it said, one of them was open early and then it was the other one. So keep an eye on those hours.
Yeah. Like right now, they don't have anything for August listed. They have July 1st through 31st at Universal Studios with Harry Potter and Escape from Gringotts and Despicable Me Minion Mayhem.
Okay.
And then Islands of Adventure has Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, Flight of the Hippogriff, Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man and Ollivanders.
Okay, so it sounds to me, I'm going to just pull this up.
And it says it's for every day.
Yeah, it sounds like both of them are open early every day. Let me check.
I guess they're expecting to be busy.
Yeah, they're expecting to be busy. So that's a really good indication that taking advantage, that's going to be important. Yeah, so they'll do one or the other because it's just easier for them. So if you're seeing both, I'm looking over at the early park admission. Yeah, I see it here. Okay, so both parks in all of July are opening early the whole time. So I don't see any reason to think that August will be different. I mean, if you were going at the end of August, then the crowd started to go down, and then that might be where they switch to one or the other. But this is kind of cool because that early admission really does limit the number of people that are coming in, because the people who are getting early admission are people who are staying on site and some annual pass holders. And sometimes there's some other, if you're staying in a neighboring hotel or something like that. But compared to the amount of people that get at the old extra magic hours at Disney World, it's way, way fewer people. I mean, the hotels alone are, now they have a lot of hotels. So there's a lot more hotel rooms, but even if they were full, it's a lot fewer than what you have at Disney World property. So it's a huge advantage to go and get in front. And you're also getting in front of all the locals who are going to be wanting to get there too. I'm looking at the calendar. So your first day of your trip is a Sunday?
That's our check-in day.
Yeah, okay. So you timed that out really well. So you're basically doing weekdays at Universal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. It looks like for July at least, they open up at 9, both parks. So an hour early is 8, which isn't terrible. It's not like Animal Kingdom opening at 8 and you have to be there at 6:30.
Yeah.
to get to Pandora or something like that. And if they have both of them open, I think we can just like pick and choose, see which one we want to do first.
Yeah.
But our arrival day, when we're driving over from Animal Kingdom, I don't expect that we'll be getting there early, probably around lunchtime or something. So what kind of stuff would you recommend doing in the evening?
Well, let me look at see how late the parks have been open. So staying open till 9 in July. So you probably have those same 9 to 9 kind of hours. You have a park ticket. Your 5 days includes that arrival day. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have 5-day tickets in the 1st through the 5th. We're leaving Universal on the 5th.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, once that's a Sunday night, I would say that if you went into the parks, even like after 4, it would probably be really low crowd level. And by the time things are starting to close down, once you get past like 7, you might have a lot of it to yourself. So I would advise, and you're there and you're itching to go. You have waited so long. I would go into the parks that night. Maybe take the heat of the day and check out your hotel and go to the pool or whatever. But, kind of early evening, head over. I mean, my advice would be to go to Universal Studios first. So first part of Harry Potter that you see is Diagon Alley. And it's cool because just like at Disney, things are different at night. I mean, seeing it in the evening, it'll still be extra magical when you see it the next day in the day. It'll look different. But I think you could probably go in there and you could probably almost walk on to Gringotts especially with your Express Pass. I mean, you guys could do a lot in a few hours at the end of that first day.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. And never being there, it's just, just a little overwhelming to try to figure things out.
Yeah, I know it. I know it is. And you guys will be a pro. I can't wait. We're totally going to talk after you come back because you're going to have so many things to share because you're going to have spent so much time there. Now you'll be the expert. So it'll be really fun to hear about how it goes and what advice you would pass on.
Yeah. What about like the food? Because dining at Disney is a really big thing. Mm-hmm. And I've heard that dining at Universal in the parks is not really a big thing. I think when we talked to you on our podcast, that you said City Walk is where it is. So how do we plan for that, for eating?
I think that there are some places you're going to want to eat at in the parks, which are basically both in the Wizarding World. So you're going to want to go to the Leaky Cauldron and the Three Broomsticks. Mm-hmm. The food's not awesome, but it's fun. It's it's British inspired. So it's like, bangers and mash and stuff like that. Shepherd's pie, which also may seem a little heavy when it's August in Orlando. So, yeah. But those are places that you don't make a reservation for. They're basically quick service style restaurants. I believe that right now Universal is still controlling the admission into the restaurants and using kind of a mobile order way of getting access. That's another thing that's really important. Make sure that you've got the app on everybody's phone and you've got your credit card in there and you've got it all set up and you play around with it a little, because for restaurants like Three Broomsticks, they're going to want you to mobile order your food and then you check in and then they'll give you a table. So be aware that that's probably the way. I mean, I know their capacity is basically, their limits have been lifted, but I think that system works pretty good for them. So I would expect that that's how it's going to work at any place that's not like a, sit down or table service.
Well, that sounds right up my alley because I love mobile order anywhere.
Okay, perfect.
I don't like ordering old-fashioned way anymore.
I know, it's really easy with mobile order. So those are two places. I mean, and you're gonna want to get butterbeer, and they have carts in the Wizarding World where they have like frozen butterbeer, which is like a Slurpee, but it's butterbeer, which is really good. I
can't wait to taste butterbeer.
It's, if you like cream soda, it's kind of like that, only more butterscotchy. I think it's really good. So yeah, and so that's kind of thing you can get either when you get your lunch or your dinner at one of those restaurants, or just walking around. And then the other kind of food options, there's plenty of little, places where you can get like kind of quick fast food and snacks throughout the parks. There are also a number of table service restaurants in the parks, and I've eaten in some of them. They're fine. They're actually really nice if you're in the park and you want some air conditioning and you want to take an hour or whatever to sit down. I would just be aware that, it's easier if you have a reservation than walking up, especially if it's a busy time, which I think you're going to be there at a pretty busy time. So have you made any dining reservations?
Just for dinner.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're all City Walk.
There's a lot of great restaurants in City Walk, which I have to say I haven't tried most of them because I don't spend 5 days there usually. So you get to try them out.
Yeah. So with everything being so close together, would you say that we could go eat dinner at 5:30 or 6, the City Walk, and then still be able to go back in the parks in the evening and have some time to do things?
Yeah, I would think so. The City Walk, the way that's laid out is the two theme parks are they're literally next to each other. I mean, you can see into the other parks. It's a lot different from Disney. So yeah. And then their gates, the actual entry gates are, I think I did this math. Can I have a post about how far stuff is apart? I think it's like a 1/4 mile between the entrance to Islands of Adventure and the entrance to Universal Studios. So just imagine that's like a few city blocks apart, basically. Mm-hmm. So there's this canal that runs through there, and the entrance to the parks are all on one side of the canal. And then on the other side of it is most of the City Walk, which is like a giant outdoor mall, basically. But on the same side as the park gates, there's actually some restaurants in there too. In between the two park gates is I think it's the world's largest Hard Rock Cafe, this giant Hard Rock Cafe there. And there's this other place that's, it's called something Chocolate Emporium. It's this really cool, like
Toothsome.
That's it. The Toothsome. That place is really fun too. It's kind of like a Cheesecake Factory sort of menu. Like there's a giant, they have all kinds of stuff. But they're really known for their milkshakes and their cakes and their desserts and stuff. And it's all this really cool, like steampunk kind of look to it. It's very fun. So those are literally literally outside of the park gates. And then all the other restaurants are just across the little river all along there. So yes, you can definitely eat in the restaurants. I mean, we usually go to City Walk for lunch. We'll almost always go to the Hard Rock Cafe for lunch in the middle of our day because it's like you're walking right past it to get to the other park. So I think that that's going to be totally fine. And I think that might be part of the reason that they just haven't stepped up their game with the restaurants inside the parks the way Disney has. And it might be just because there's so many other options that are just right there.
Yeah. Well, we do have reservations for both Hard Rock and Toothsome.
Nice. Okay, good.
So I'm excited for those.
Yeah. And you know where else you got to go is you need to go to the Voodoo Donuts.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you heard about the Voodoo Donut shop?
I've heard a little bit about it, but we don't have anything like. We have a donut store here that sells, donuts with things on top of them, but I don't think anything like what that is.
Yeah, the donuts are pretty crazy. But one of the things I really like about it, besides that the donuts are good, is their regular prices. Like if it was in your town, it's how much a donut would cost there. So you can go in there and buy a donut for like, I think you can actually buy a donut for less than $2.
Oh, wow.
In the Voodoo Donuts. You can spend like $6 on a super fancy one, but like most of the donuts are priced like $2-3. So I appreciate that because it's like not a lot of stuff, is always this extra kind of theme park pricing. And it's very fun to go inside and look at all the different options and choose your donuts. And it's kind of a fun thing to do in the morning. Like if you get to the gate early, send somebody over to pick up some donuts for you to eat while you're waiting at the gate.
Yeah, because my kids are breakfast people for sure.
Yeah. And so that reminds me, now I'm going to jump around, getting to the gate, for early admission. So it's definitely going to benefit you to try to get to the gate. Even if you've got an 8:00 early admission, they will open those gates at 7:45. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's just always 15 minutes before. That's always been my experience anyway. So if you get to the gate by like 7:30, you could be one of the first ones into the park. Kind of, it depends on if you want to be first in on the ride or in the, Hogwarts castle or whatever. But if you can get there about a half hour before the entrance time, it's going to really benefit you. I mean, it'll just give you that experience of being ahead of the crowd.
Is it best to go straight back to the Harry Potter stuff, or should we check out other things first and then do Harry Potter later?
So the way Universal does it, when you were looking at those early admission, that information, and it was telling you like the things that were open, the Hagrid's coaster and stuff, that is the only thing that's going to be actually operating, other than like the shops will be open and stuff. But so those are the rides that you're going to be able to choose from. And especially the Hagrid's motorbike coaster, you guys are going to that's your rope drop mission, because you have express passes, which is huge. It's going to help you skip the line almost everywhere. But there's two places that are important to know do not have express pass. One of them is the Hagrid's coaster, and the other one is the new Velocicoaster. And those are both in Islands of Adventure. So I don't think they're opening the Velocicoaster during early admission. We could check that. But the Hagrid's coaster is open for it. And since your express pass aren't going to allow you to skip the line there, that is what you want to use your early admission for, at least at first. If you guys ride it and you're like, okay, we're good, then, maybe you do that one of the days and not again. But, I'm looking at the early admission thing again, and it looks like basically in Islands of Adventure, it's the Harry Potter stuff, and then the Spider-Man ride, which you have an express pass, so you can ride that whenever you want without really waiting. So focus on enjoying the Wizarding World without a bunch of people in it. First thing, and then for sure that Hagrid motorbike roller coaster is so cool. You guys are gonna love it.
Yeah, I can't wait. What about the wands and Ollivanders? Is that worth the expense?
If you are as big of a Harry Potter fan as you're saying, Rick, you have to have it. You have to. Guess what? I told you right now, your birthday is one of those days. You can get yourself one for your birthday.
There you go. I could probably justify anything while I'm there.
The wines are really cool. And if you don't have one, you're going to be jealous of everybody who does, because there's places in both Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley where you do magic. You use the wands, and it's got a little thing, and it shows you how to move them and where to aim them. And it makes magic happen in the shop windows and other places. And these wands, it's amazing. They are like, it's RF technology or something, and they make it work. And you guys have so many people that you can decide maybe you don't need 5 wands. Maybe you buy 2 wands and you share, which is totally fine. It just depends on your group.
Well, I can see us at least having 3.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that the younger 2 kids will share.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and it's cool. You should do the Ollivanders experience. And Ollivanders is another thing that doesn't have Express Pass. Even though it's a store, it's also kind of a show because they only let a few people in at a time. And Ollivander, shows you the shop. And then he chooses someone in the group to have a wand choose them. And so it's a very cool experience. It feels very authentic. And then after you do that, you can go and look in the shop, or you can just go to the shop without doing that. And they have all kinds of replica wands that are the interactive wands. So you can have your same wand as your favorite character. And they also have other special wands that relate to like when your birthday is and stuff like that. So there's a ton of choices. And they come in this wonderful box. Like it's fantastic. So well worth it.
Maybe we should do that first thing Monday morning.
That would be cool.
Since Sunday we'll be there in the evening, and that will be our first morning.
That's a really great idea. That's such
then
a
we'd
good
have
way
them all the rest of the week.
Yeah, and then you do. And the cool thing about the wands too is that you can bring them back. Like we have wands that we bought years ago, and we bring them with us, and they'll still work. If the battery goes dead, you just go into Ollivanders and they will repair. They say it's wand repair. And they'll replace the battery. And I don't think I've ever paid them anything for that. So they are not just like one of those things. If you can go back, it's not something that you only use on the one trip. You can actually bring your wands back. You'll see people when you're standing there waiting to get in on the first morning, you'll see people with all kinds of stuff that are just going into the wizarding world, and they have their special wand and all of that. That they bring back. So yes, get a wand for sure.
Yeah. We're trying to figure out like what kind of shirts we want, because we all know which houses we're in. And all that fun stuff. I have a couple Jurassic Park shirts, and 3 of us are Hufflepuffs. And we have one Ravenclaw and one Slytherin.
One Slytherin, huh?
Yeah, that's our youngest son. And the girls and I are Hufflepuffs, and my wife is a Ravenclaw. And we just have to have our oldest son do it. I think he's a Slytherin too, but I don't know.
Well, it's really fun because when you get there, you will be in your element. You already speak the language, and there's going to be a bunch of people there that are so excited about the same stuff, which is really neat. And, when you're in line, you're going to strike up conversations about Harry Potter and about the things, that you think are really cool. So,
Okay. So, we know that Harry Potter is like where it's at for me, but what other things should we consider doing while we're there? I know there's got to be a couple other rides that are Harry Potter.
There's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. I mean, you guys have time that you could pretty much ride every single thing in both parks multiple times, especially since you have the Express Pass. So I would suggest start your days, at least at first, start your days in the Wizarding World, because that it is really magical to be in there before it's really packed full of people. But then, spread out and really explore the parks. Each of the parks has several different kind of lands. Islands of Adventure has a Dr. Seuss land, which at first glance you might think it's for little kids, but it's actually really cool. They've got so much amazing theming in there, and you can just walk around and look at all the Dr. Seuss critters. They have the Grinch walking around. There's a little trolley that goes up high above the land, which gives you a really good view of you can actually look over into the other theme park from there. So that's a really fun thing to check out.
Yeah, I think, like what you said, Dr. Seuss Land. I really think I would enjoy that because Dr. Seuss was such a big part of my childhood growing up.
Yeah, me too.
Because I had all the books, a lot more so than I know kids nowadays have a Dr. Seuss day at school, or at least our schools do. Mm-hmm. But my kids didn't read Dr. Seuss books like I read Dr. Seuss books. I had quite a collection of them.
Yeah. Well, even if you're just a casual fan, they have the greatest hits there. So you're going to see the Cat in the Hat, the Grinch, some of those characters that everybody recognizes. And the shops are actually super fun too in that land. They have all this really unique Dr. Seuss themed everything from t-shirts to they have all the books, pretty much every Dr. Seuss book. They have a bookstore, and then all kinds of other cool stuff. So don't just skip right past there when you have the time, when you're going through and you're really exploring, take some time in that land. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I do want to see the Simpsons stuff.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing I remember when the Simpsons started, 1980, it's such a big thing because I was in 7th grade, right before Christmas when they had their Christmas special, and then they started the show right after that. And that was just like all anybody talked about at school.
Yeah, you were the perfect age.
Yeah. And here it is still going on. But
yeah, you will get a real kick out of it because it's like you're walking into their town and the humor. I mean, here's something, that you may have already heard that's different from Disney. Universal has no problem being snarky, sarcastic. Like Bart Simpson fits right in at Universal. So they're the attraction that's in there, the big Simpsons ride. It's like a 4D movie with a motion simulator kind of ride. So if anybody in your group has problems with the motion simulator, that one might not be for them. But for anybody that's okay with it, it is super fun and it's hilarious. It is, even just standing in line, they show like little clips, special Simpsons clips that they made for the attraction, and they're hysterical. The safety briefing is absolutely hilarious. So so that one, and I don't have that history with the Simpsons. It's not like something that I was beyond 7th grade. But I still find that land to be really well themed, and that ride it's actually one of my favorite things because I just laugh the entire time.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of motion sickness, our youngest daughter, she gets car sick often. So, we'll have Dramamine for her. She's not a big thrill junkie. So, she won't ride. I did watch a video of, I think it's Rip Ride Rocket.
Yes.
And my oldest daughter's like, yeah, I'll ride that. But the rest of the family is like, ain't no way. And, I'll ride it. I'll ride anything. But I get motion sickness in the China movie and the Canada movie at Disney World.
Okay.
And I know that Universal has a lot of screen rides as well. So it would probably be worthwhile for me to take some Dramamine too, don't you think?
I mean, it's going to make you really sleepy. So you have to do the trade-off. How are you in Soarin'?
Soarin' is fine.
Okay. So
I don't know what it is about the Circle Vision theaters, but I just have to shut my eyes and put my head down because I can't deal with that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to be fine in the Gringotts ride because it's more, it has screens, but it's more roller coastery if you're, so But there are a few rides there that are more attractions that you might want to like try one and see how you feel afterwards. The Minions ride is basically a movie with a simulator. So is the Jimmy Fallon ride. Mm-hmm. So you're in a theater, the seats move, it's 3D. It feels like you're in a video game, kind of. So I know my husband has sensitivity, that kind of thing. And he tolerated those rides, but he didn't want to go on them again. So
yeah. Well, I don't have any problem with Star Tours either.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
It's just the
round.
The round, and I guess where it's like sweeping and spinning and it just brings me to my knees.
Yeah. Okay. So it's hard to say. It'll be interesting to see what your experience is because
I think I'll probably just take some with me.
Yeah.
And take it if needed. But Emma, she might need to take it because she is very prone to car sickness.
Yeah, there's some attractions she may not want to do. And this is a thing that people, it's a knock on Universal, is that a lot of the attractions have screens. And it makes it hard for people that are sensitive to that kind of thing. So
I think they have a lot more thrill rides too, don't they?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to bring a 5-year-old to Universal and have them have a whole day of stuff to do. So
because my wife is not a thrill ride person.
Yeah, but if she's okay with the motion, then a lot of them aren't really thrill rides. Like the Minions ride it feels thrilling, but it's not like a roller coaster or anything. Yeah. The Jimmy Fallon ride.
What she doesn't like are hills. She does not like hills and drops.
Yeah.
So, that's why she won't ride Rip Ride Rocket.
Yeah.
Because it's got quite a drop.
It took me a long time to get the courage up to ride that, and it's still not my fave.
Do any of the Harry Potter rides have drops?
Spoiler.
I mean, you can say if it has a drop, it won't ruin it for me.
Well, the Hagrid's coaster has a drop in it, unexpectedly. She probably wouldn't go on that anyway because of all the other things it does. The Gringotts ride, you think you're dropping farther than you are. So it gives you the illusion that you're on a big roller coaster, but it really isn't.
Would it be comparable to the drop in Rise of the Resistance, maybe?
I would compare that drop to what you experience on the Hagrid's coaster. It's almost the same kind of thing. Yeah, so it's not like a Tower of Terror drop in the Hagrid's in the Gringotts ride. It's more like you're on it's a little more like Space Mountain. You're kind of in the dark and you're on a track. But there's screens and it feels like you're moving but inside of a story. And it's really hard to explain it without just doing it, but I would recommend that you might want to ride it first.
Yeah.
And see.
Since we have the time.
You have the
that's
time.
That's a really good idea.
The other thing that you can do is that Universal has a rider swap thing, sort of like Disney has this too. But at Universal, the way it works for most of those big rides is everybody can go in through the queue up to where you load on. So like say you're going to the ride inside Hogwarts Castle, the Forbidden Journey ride. So you guys can walk through the castle, all of you, and then right where the loading area is, they have a room for people who don't want to ride, or like if you're swapping, like you have a little kid and one of you is going to ride and then you're going to swap. So anybody who doesn't want to ride it right now can just go and wait in that room. And then And so let's say your wife waits there, you go ride, you get off of it, and you're like, oh, I think she'd be okay with this. Then she can just go immediately. You get off, you meet up with her, they tell the cast member, okay, she's going to ride. She just gets on. So you're still like standing there right next to the loading. That's a slow to ride on.
Okay.
It's a really good way to test it out.
Yeah, that sounds great. With the Express Pass, do we lose very much of the experience with skipping the lines? Like you going through a FastPass line?
That is a really good question. Some of the attractions, it is worth going through the regular line once. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Okay, so on Gringotts, I think on Gringotts, if you ride Express Pass, all you're missing is a lot of weaving back and forth in a room. So there is no reason not to use Express Pass in Gringotts. You will still go through the lobby of the bank, and you will still have all the other experience. You just come in there as opposed to having to start somewhere else. In the Forbidden Journey ride inside the castle, it's the same. It's basically the same thing. You might miss a little bit outside. There's like a you can actually see the little plants that talk. I'm trying to think what those are called. You probably remember from Professor Sprout's greenhouse. Yeah, you go through the greenhouse in that queue, and it probably depends on how crowded it is, whether you would end up in there if you had Express Pass or not. You may skip that. You would still go through the castle and see all the cool stuff. You'll just be going faster than the other line, so feel free to stop and let people pass you, especially the first time or two that you go through, because there's so much cool stuff to see in the queue in there.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. And I'm trying to think, those are the ones that stand out to me. I know the King Kong ride, that ride has a pretty spectacular queue for the regular queue. I've never been in it though, because the lines are usually pretty long. And so I'd rather just go through the Express Pass and miss it. So, and the Mummy ride, which is an indoor roller coaster also, that one, the queue is different. If you go through the standard queue, you will get more of a pre-story that could kind of help explain what the heck is going on when you get inside. But I never felt like I was missing anything. I didn't actually go through that line until the last time I was there. And I was like, oh, this makes some sense. But you're not missing much by using the express line with that one either.
I'm excited about that. I know my wife is super excited about the ET ride.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because that's another thing from our childhood there.
Yeah, I know. E.T., I have never ridden the E.T. ride because I know I will cry the whole time because that movie made me cry so much.
Yes. I remember watching it in the theater and just bawling.
Totally.
At the end.
What else does your family want to do that's not Harry Potter?
I don't know. I know my oldest daughter, she'll ride anything and everything.
Cool.
So, at least I know I have a partner. I want to see the Jurassic Park stuff. We all love the movies.
Mm-hmm.
My younger two kids may not ride the Velocicoaster.
Mm-hmm.
But they might surprise me. I don't know. My son might. He goes back and forth between things.
Uh-huh.
Well, like I said, it's just been hard for me to kind of wrap my head around planning.
Well, it's fun because you're going to be exploring someplace new and discovering things as you're there. All of you together, too, which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when we went to Disney World, I'd been there several times before my family. And even in 2010, there's parts of it that we just don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, we have a lot better recollection. I'm trying to look at the map, but it's like sideways on the website. Are there water rides?
Yes, that's an excellent question. Yes, beware. Universal loves water. Literally, I think I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that there is water in every single ride in one way or another. It's sort of a game that my daughter and I play. It's like if there's a new ride or whatever, it's like, how is there going to be water in this ride? Huh. So it might just be a little spritz in the face or something, but you'll notice there's always water, which is funny. But the really water rides are very, very wet. So especially in the summer. So the wet rides are, I'm trying to think, I don't think there's any wet rides over in Universal Studios in that park, but Islands of Adventure has a few that in their, they're kind of all in the same end of the park. So there's this one section of the park that's kind of themed after comic strips. And so they have Popeye and Bluto's Barges ride, which is a raft ride that you go underneath waterfalls and stuff. So so do not go on that unless you are prepared to like wear a swimsuit. Seriously. We made that mistake once and we were just miserable the whole rest of the day. So that one's like super wet. And then there's two like rides that are like flume rides. So one of them is obviously a flume ride. When you walk past it, you'll see it's sort of like a version of not Splash Mountain. Version of Splash Mountain. And that one it's wetter. And they even have like water cannons on the sides of all of these rides. So people can put like a quarter in and squirt water at people going by.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then the other one to really, like those two are obviously wet rides, but the other one to really be aware of is the Jurassic Park ride. It ends by going down a big drop. It's on a boat and it's like Splash Mountain times 25.
Oh, wow.
It can be. Depends where you're sitting in the boat and depends on like how heavy your crowd is in your boat and stuff. But we have been like literally had a wave come over our head before on that ride. And they, I think, have the water jets for that one too. So that one is sneaky. You think it's like Jungle Cruise, but then it isn't at the end. So maybe, if you want to go on that one, just plan it around into a part of your day where you're okay with if you get wet.
Yeah. I think, just looking at the map that if we do get wet, it won't be such an ordeal if we would want to go back and change our clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just a short walk.
Yeah. And the other thing to know too is they have pedicabs. They have guys, those pedicab bikes, or it's like a bicycle, but it's got a passenger seat on the back. So they have those there. I assume they're still there. And these guys park just outside the gates, like in the city walk, and they will give you a ride back to your hotel. So, and they just ask for a donation. So you can give them $5 or whatever, $10. Yeah. So if it's the end of the day and you're wet or you're just tired and you just want to get back to the hotel quicker, they can get you back to your place in like where it might take you 10 or 15 minutes to walk there. It's like 5 minutes from the pedicab. So that's
how many people can ride on those? Is it one or two?
It's 2 or 3. I mean,
okay.
It's probably seats. Yeah, I'd say 2 or 3 people. So you couldn't get your whole crowd in one. You'd have to split up. But especially like if somebody's going back because they're just way too hot, or they're just like maybe only part of your group is going back and they just really need to take a break. Just have a little bit of cash on hand, have some fives or whatever that you can pay those guys with, because that is a really good extra little trick to get back to. And and as far as I know, they just go on the paths to the premier hotels. So since you guys are in one of those, you should be able to use that if you want.
What about the boats? Or is that a valid option?
Yeah, the boats are good too, especially in the morning, because if you're kind of getting out there for rope drop, then they always, they'll have a boat going pretty early and you can just go out and get in the boat. It's like the boats that run between Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
It's like that. And they just run up to City Walk right by the Voodoo Donuts. By the way, it'll drop you off by that. And then you can walk to the gate from there. And you can also take the boat back. For me, I usually like to just walk back, because by the time I go to the boat and stand in line and wait for it, I could have just walked back. So usually it's the morning that I use the boat, or like in the evening, if you're going up there going into City Walk for dinner, that's a really lovely way to get there and to get back to your place.
Awesome.
I want to give you a couple more tips that you might not know that are different from Disney. Okay. So, one is that the really major attractions, like the roller coasters and like the Gringotts Bank ride and stuff, Universal requires you either have to have everything in your pockets, or you have to leave your stuff in a locker. So they have lockers outside of all the attractions that are free, but they're not very big. They can hold, like, if you have a little backpack that can squish down, they're maybe like, 8 inches high by about 18 inches wide. And they're deep. You can stick your wand in there. But yeah, so they're free to use, and you can pay for a bigger locker if you need to. But it's a good thing to know about, because they're going to make you put your stuff in a locker before you get into the line. So you want to make sure that you either pack super light, like if you can get away with not carrying a backpack in first thing in the morning, that's optimal. But if you are bringing stuff in, like most people, you just know that you have to stop at the locker. And and then there's a couple attractions, which are the major roller coasters, the Hulk coaster, the Hagrid's coaster, the Rip Ride Rocket, and I'm sure the Velocicoaster. You actually pass through a metal detector when you're getting into the line, and you can't even have change in your pockets or your cell phone. Yeah, it all has to be in the locker. So I have to imagine that something happened and their lawyers are like, no more stuff on these roller coasters.
I can't believe you can't even take your phone. That's
no.
insane.
So this is where it's handy if you have someone who's not riding that wants to go in line with you, because they can carry your stuff. They can come in the line with you, and then they can just not ride and just go out, and they can carry your phone and your other stuff, and you don't have to go to a locker. So that's handy if your wife doesn't want to ride, but she might want to walk through the Forbidden Forest to see Hagrid's hut on the way to the roller coaster. She can carry your stuff. So
yeah. She'll love carrying our stuff.
Yeah, she'll love that, I'm sure. He'll have to make it up to her. But that's a surprise to a lot of people. And I've seen so many, especially dads, standing there trying to argue with the poor attendant at the gate who's just like, no, you can't bring your keys on this ride, So you'll get the hang of it real quickly. The lockers are free for like an hour, whatever I've never had it like go past the time where I had to pay. And then you can just take your stuff with you when you get off the ride, and then you put it in the next locker for, your next thing that you're doing.
Is it like a key or a digital or?
It's digital. It used to be a thumbprint, but I think they changed that because of COVID. I think it scans your park ticket now. But so that's the second thing I wanted to tell you. One thing that you're probably going to want to buy right when you get there is some lanyards to hold your room key and your park ticket in. Now, your park ticket's going to be on your phone now too, but they'll probably give you a some kind of a card that's also your park ticket. And your room key is going to be your Express Pass. So there's like a QR code on it that they'll scan when you go in the Express Pass line. So what you want is, and they sell them there, and I say buy them there because they're themed and they're fun. You get a lanyard, and it's got a little pouch, a little clear pouch on the bottom, and you can put your park ticket with the barcodes out, one on one side, and then back to back put your hotel key in the other side. And then all you have to do when you go through the line to get in your Express Pass, you just hold it up and they will scan it. And they will allow you to have that even on the attractions that have the metal detector. They'll allow you to wear one of those. It's smart to like tuck it in your shirt or whatever when you get on, before you get on the ride. But that is a really, really easy way to make sure you don't lose your park ticket or your room key, and then just to make it easy when you get on the line.
That sounds like a good first day purchase.
It is. You're going to want that. Like, you look forward to buying that on your first time into the park. And everybody in your party, including the younger kids, everyone's going to have their own room key with their name on it. And they actually used to be different. They used to have a paper Express Pass, and they would take this horrible picture and put on there. I don't think they do that anymore, but it does. It says your name. It says your dates, what hotel you're in, what dates you're there. And that way, when you're in that express line, if there's any question, they can actually see it. But they'll scan it. They may also be using facial recognition for the Express Pass line. They've been kind of experimenting with that. So it might turn out that they don't even need to see it. Once they've scanned your face through a few times, you may be able to just kind of walk through. But having it on the lanyard is really fun. And it's kind of like the pin, people at Disney with
pin trading.
Pins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can buy some pins there too and put them on your lanyard if you want.
Awesome.
Yeah. So those are a couple things I just always try to mention because it's different from at Disney.
Yeah. I think a lot of things are going to be different. But I think we'll get a pretty quick learning curve.
Oh, yeah. You guys are theme park pros already. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
Is there anything that you would avoid?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, the water rides. For me, the water rides are something I do avoid. I mean, the Jurassic Park ride's pretty fun. So that one I will, prepare for. But the other ones, just personally, that's what I avoid. The weather could be a factor. I guess that's answering a different question here, but just be aware that, the afternoon you've been there, you live close enough to that, that it could get pretty nasty and late in the day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've run into those at Disney World.
Yeah.
Afternoon thunderstorms.
Yeah, exactly. So just keep an eye on the radar. And a lot of the rides are outside too, those big roller coasters and stuff. So if you see a storm's coming, go on the roller coaster before it shuts down, because that happens too.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the tips. I got all kinds of stuff to talk about now.
Yeah.
With my family when I get home.
Well, I'll probably think of a bunch of stuff and like send you an email later.
Okay.
I can give you some homework if you want. I have a couple episodes related to this. They're really early on. My episode 6 and 7 in my podcast. 6 is about things to do before you go. And then 7 is about what to expect the first day that you're at Universal. And so a lot of stuff we just talked about, I cover in those. And some of it might be dated now because, some things have changed, but I think a lot of it still applies. So if you have time, you might want to give those a listen. And then I don't think
I have
there's
listened
any
to
spoilers.
some of the old episodes, but I haven't gotten that far back yet.
Yeah. So those two, I would, and I don't think it's going to spoil anything for you, because it's more like general and tips.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to avoid ride videos and YouTube stuff because that would kind of, I think, take the wind out of the sails.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to send you, so I'm going to do show notes for this discussion. And so I'll put some of the stuff into that. But I'm going to send you a link to some information about the Rip Ride Rocket, because the Rip Ride Rocket, you get to choose the song you listen to. Every person does, not just you two in your row. You each get to choose your song. And there's all these like songs that are available, but there's also a secret song list, which is really good. And there's a way to hack the system on the Rip Ride Rocket and choose a song that's not listed. So I'll send you the article about it. It's super.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Your daughter's gonna love it.
Yeah, I can't wait. She's our little thrill seeker.
Yeah, she's gonna love it.
I don't know if you're familiar with Kings Island in Ohio. Her first ride ever was Son of Beast.
Oh no!
Before, when it still had a loop, because the first year it was open, it had a loop. It was a wooden roller coaster with a loop, and they actually took the loop out the second or third year because so many people got hurt.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the first roller coaster she ever rode, and she was 6. And she's been my roller coaster buddy ever since.
Oh, well, you guys, Islands of Adventure is probably your favorite park because it's got some great coasters over there.
Yeah, the ride, there's a lot more thrilling rides than I think what we're used to at Disney World.
Yeah, all kind of combined into those two parks. So but lots of other fun stuff. You guys are have fun. I mean, it feels like you're in Hollywood when you're over in Universal Studios. You'll see the DeLorean from Back to the Future. You'll see the Blues Brothers driving around in their Bluesmobile, and they come out and do a show. There's just so much cool stuff to see and do. I think you guys are going to have a great time.
I can't wait to report back and let you know how it went.
Me too. All right. We're going to plan for that for sure. So thank you so much for being on with me today, Rick. This is super fun. I'm so excited about your trip. It's going to be so great to hear about it later when you come back too. So can you, if somebody wants to like maybe see some pictures of your trip or hear more from you about Disney or whatever, where can people find you?
I'm on the Monorail Tales podcast. So I'll probably be sharing some pictures to our group there on Facebook, the Monorail Tales group. My personal Instagram is Magic in the Hills. HILLS. So I'll definitely be putting some pictures and videos there too as well.
All right, awesome.
Or they can find me on Facebook, Rick Forbes. I accept most friend requests as long as I can tell that we have some sort of commonality there.
Excellent. Cool. Well, it's been super fun talking to you. I know you like to you're like our number one fan on our Disney Hack Chat. that Joey and I do on Tuesdays on Facebook. So it's been really fun to get to actually like talk to you like this and hear about your trip.
It makes up for me maybe missing the next 2 Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's right. You might miss some because you got another Disney trip coming up. Super exciting. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Rick, and have a
thanks for
trip.
having me on. And I can't wait to put some of these tips into action.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed my chat with Rick. I thought that he was really thoughtful about all those questions he asked. Just a ton of frequently asked questions there that hopefully will help you guys too in figuring out what your first day in the parks is going to look like and what you need to be ready for. Remember that the show notes for this episode are at goinform.net/69. I've got links to some of the things that we talked about and also all of Rick's links to his social media and his podcast. And you can catch him on the Monorail Tales podcast, wherever you're listening to the show. And if you want to hear me and Rick talk more about Disney and about me and Go Informed, that is Monorail Tales episode number 185. So you might learn a little more about me and also just lots of Disney stuff over there. So check it out. You can find Rick on Instagram at Magic in the Hills. And you can also follow Monorail Tales. Just look for Monorail Tales on Instagram, on Facebook. They have a fantastic Facebook group too. So if you go over to their page, you'll see a link to that. Thank you too for following me on social. You can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook at GoInformedNet. And do keep an eye out for a future episode after Rick gets back. We'll be talking to him to find out how his trip went, what advice he has to share, and just all that good stuff. So be sure to hit the subscribe button on your podcast app so that you won't miss any future episodes. And I look forward to catching you next time. Thanks, guys.